Hey man, what's going on, y'all? Yes, we back with another video. On this one, we gonna be talking about the NBA draft lottery. Now, I already know, my Celtics, typically that's not our thing to be in the draft lottery. The last time we were in the draft lottery, we did get our superstars, JB and JT. But, we just gonna talk about the draft lottery. We gonna recap it. It took place yesterday. And whenever it's new talent coming into the league, we have no choice but to talk about it. Especially with the way how this draft class is looking. Man, it's a lot of great talent out there. Just because you don't go top five, it doesn't mean that you're, not a good talent. That's how that can go for every draft, but especially this draft. Like at this point, it's literally just the best player available. You have to take them regardless of where they are. You know, quote unquote projected in on the mock board. You just have to take them regardless. That's how talented this draft class is. But y'all already know the order. I don't know the full 14 on the top of my head, but I think we all know the top four. And the top four for this upcoming draft is going to be the Chicago Bulls picking at 4, the Memphis Grizzlies picking at 3, the Utah Jazz picking up at 2, and yes, of course, y'all know it by now, the Washington Wizards are picking at number 1. They have the number 1 draft pick come next month. Now, if you ask me, on the funny side, to be funny, I feel like they don't deserve it because they saw the damn let Bam get 83. You let Bam Adebayo get 83 points on what, like almost 40 free throws. You don't deserve no number 1 pick, man. And this is actually crazy because they did that. And they are also the first team in a while to actually win the draft lottery after having the worst record in the NBA. That's the first time that that's happened in a little bit. They were saying on Sports Center. And so not only that, y'all gonna reward them for having the best record when y'all typically don't do that. And they gave up 83 to Bam. Hey man. But all jokes aside, the Washington Wizards have a really, really great future because assuming that they pick AJ DeBonza, even if they, AJ DeBonza or Darren Peterson is a fantastic pick, but assuming that they're likely going to go with AJ DeBonza, you have Trey Young, Alex Sarr, Anthony Davis, and you put in AJ DeBonza in that group. I don't know, man. That's a scary lineup. Plus, they just had a top pick last year as well. This Wizards team is set up for success. Like especially in the Eastern Conference, in which we've seen like the Hawks come out of nowhere and have a really good season. The Hornets came out of nowhere and had a really good season. The Hawks made the playoffs. The Hornets almost made the playoffs. Like the East can be very, very wide open outside of, the top teams that we know are going to be there every year. And if the Pistons play well, assuming that they will, insert themselves in that type of, category, the East is, really, really wide open for a new team to compete every single season, especially a young team. And obviously, Trey Young and AD, they will not stay healthy the whole entire season. We know that much, barring off their history. But, if they can stay healthy enough and be able to, give that mentorship that the young guys need for the Wizards, then the Wizards might be, in a really good position this year. The Jazz, even though that they are, historically, they typically are always bad, except for, in the 90s where they had Karl Malone and John Stockton. The Jazz have a chance to be really solid. They got Jaren Jackson Jr. from the trade deadline. They still have Lauri Markkanen. Don't know if they're gonna move on from him. They got Ace Bailey, who, he had some really solid games, and they also had somebody come off the bench. I think it was Sensabaugh. He came off the bench and had like 40 points for them. So the Jazz can be another sneaky team that'd be good. You add Darren Peterson in there, and the Jazz can be one of those up and coming teams in the Western Conference because, even though the East, people say, how the East is weak and is wide open, the West can easily become wide open as well because a lot of the top teams at the West, they are a little bit older. I mean, aside from the younger teams like the Thunder and the Spurs, and maybe you can try to say the Timberwolves, It's a lot of teams that are a little bit on the older side. I mean, the Rockets are young, but they do have KD, so I guess you can. That's kind of taking like their average youth down. But still, like the Jazz can be one of those teams to where they find themselves like being in the lottery every year to potentially, making a play-in run next season. Maybe playing in the 9-10 game. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like that'd be solid for them. The Grizzlies have to just take who's ever the best available. I've seen people talk about Cameron Boozer, people talk about Caleb Wilson. We really just got to see how everything transpires this offseason with Ja Morant and how everything goes down with them. And who knows, the Grizzlies can be in a really good spot. The Bulls, it's really tough for the Bulls because it seems like the Bulls have been either mediocre or bad for so long, but they don't ever get like a really good pick. Their pick is always, in that 8 range or 5 or 7 or 6 range. But they have 4 this year. So, and with I said, like I did say, this is a very, very talented draft class. Maybe Caleb Wilson drops to, the Chicago Bulls. Who knows? Like, this is going to be a very, very interesting draft. Some other important notes to point out. The Hawks have the number 8 pick, which is very good for them to still have a top 10 pick after that young core just made a run to the playoffs. Obviously, their season did not end, ideally because they got blown out by 50 points at home. But aside from that, they they have a really good future, and now they're about to add to that. The Thunder continue to, the rich continue to get richer. They have a lottery pick, which sounds crazy because they're en route to potentially, winning back-to-back championships. But they have the 12th pick. The Bucks will have a really good pick. So with Taylor Jenkins coming in which I feel like he will be a really good coach for them, and more than likely, with everything that's been circling around, he more than likely will have to be without Giannis. So maybe, they can potentially get another franchise player with how deep the draft is. And that I think they're 11. I think they're picking from like number 11 or something like that. So yeah. And then the Hornets, they also are in the lottery. They have some solid picks. So these young teams, or aside from the Thunder, I mean, the Thunder are young, but they don't really need to improve anymore because they're already at a championship level. But these young teams are really, getting the pieces or getting the draft picks that they need that could potentially alter their franchise and allow them to make deep runs. And so I really am looking forward to where most of these players go. I want to tap in more into the draft content this season. Just because how great the draft is. Like, I kind of had forgot about the draft, but then once the once the draft lottery hits, you kind of get in draft season. And I know you guys enjoy the draft content, so I'm gonna definitely try to tap into that. I'm gonna try to tap into that on my TikTok as well. Y'all make sure y'all follow me on TikTok. At the same name, Cam the Sports Guy. And yeah, I drop content on there, recapping the games, making short little videos. Sometimes I might post them on my shorts on here. And then of course I drop videos on here and drop shorts from my videos, to get a little bit more of an audience out there. But yeah, y'all continue to sub, y'all continue to show support. I've been seeing the support. We got the 42 subs. Let's see if I can get to 100 by the end of the summer. I feel like that's very doable. I'm going to continue to keep pouring out content for y'all. Y'all continue to keep rocking with me. When the NBA season ends, I'm still going to be making off-season content. And I'll still be doing like, of course, like free agency news, and I'll also be tapping into other sports. Obviously, Patriots fans, we got, football news coming up. We could be getting AJ Brown next month too. So it's still going to be a lot to, make content on. So y'all continue to grow with me. But as always, y'all know what I'm going to say. Y'all have a blessed one, and I'll see y'all in the next one.